Hey, what is going on guys, RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at what pro players are playing right now in solo queue for 9.5, so the most picked champions for every single role by pro players for this patch. So for this week in quarterback, we're going to be staying Division 1 for yet another week here, so thank you to everybody that's already joined my club and that has been collecting a lot of trophies. This week here, we should be able to keep Division 1 as long as we can continue to collect a lot of trophies. For season champions, if you do place in the top 100 of my club and you collect at least 1,000 trophies, then you can earn bonus coin rewards. Also, if you place in the top 10, there's these badges here that you can get. So you can see this guy's got a top 10 badge, so does this guy. I'll also be giving away my own RP prizes for this week, so if you place in the top 3 of my club, you'll be getting RP, and then I'll give away RP to 3 random people who just play in at least 1 challenge per week, and more info can be found on my Discord about the RP prizes. If you guys have never heard of Quarterback before, it's an app that allows you to play challenges, so max kills, max assists. If you win these challenges, you get trophies and coins, and then with those coins, you can go into the store here, go into skins, and you can unlock any skin in the game as long as it's available in the store. So ton of different skins here that you can unlock with your coins. The app is 100% free as well, guys, so you should definitely look to join my club if you have yet to already and start earning some skins for free. So we're going to go over every single role and we'll look at 3 of the most picked for every single role. So to start it off in the top lane here, the 3 most picked for this patch are Jace, Aurelia, and Neeko. So Jace has really started to emerge as just one of the better safe blind pick top laners for solo queue over the past few patches. Jace has pretty good matchups right now in the top lane. A lot of the bruiser picks in this patch that run Conquer did end up getting indirectly nerfed. He pretty much does well into most like meta bruiser picks. The only one he kind of struggles against is the Jax, but he can do pretty well into the Riven, Aurelia, into the Vladimir pick that we're seeing a lot in this patch. So he just overall is a very safe top lane pick, and you run the Airy on him in this patch and you do a really good job at just bullying out the enemy top laner. And then for the Aurelia pick, despite the Conquer nerfs in this patch, pro players are still really prioritizing her in solo queue. I just think the raw amount of outplay potential you have with Aurelia and the amount of potential in her kit, if you can play her to a high level, still makes her a great pick for solo queue. Once you do get your passive stacked up to 5, once you get your Conquer stacked up to 5, her 1v1 potential is still insanely strong. So even though she has gotten a ton of changes over the past couple of patches, and even though at one point she was pretty weak, she's actually in a decent spot right now, and pro players are still prioritizing her in this patch. And then for the Neeko pick, hands down the strongest top laner for 9.5. Pro players are playing her a ton in this patch, and she just pretty much doesn't have any bad matchups right now. She's got a very strong laning phase. You basically can't even engage onto Neeko if you're a melee champion, because she just uses her W, which gives her movement speed, gives her invis. She can kite away from that. If she needs to, she can use her E to root you, use her Q to slow you. So she just has a she's just a very good champion at kiting away from these melee champions in the top lane if they do try to dive onto her. And then she can also do an insanely good job of just poking out melee top laners too. So you're gonna win lane pretty much every single game on this Neeko pick, and she's one of the strongest split push top laners right now as well. The amount of damage you can do to towers with your W is insane, and your 1v2 potential even with the pick is very good, and it's even pretty easy to pull off as well, 1v2 scenarios, just because of the kiting potential you do have in her kit. So for jungle right now, you have a lot of really good playmaking early game junglers here. So Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, and Jarvan are the 3 most picked by pros. So the Lee Sin pick there, pretty much always going to be highly picked in the higher elos and by pro players. He's a jungler that just has a ton of playmaking potential in the early game, a ton of playmaking potential throughout the game, and you can just really snowball games out of control if you know how to play a good Lee Sin. And then an interesting thing that a few Korean pros are doing on their Lee in this patch is they're running Conquer instead of Electrocute. I think that for the average Lee Sin player, Electrocute is still going to be the better option, but it's just pretty interesting that even after the Conquer nerfs and even after it just being a lot weaker, they still are prioritizing that on Lee Sin instead of Electrocute. And then for Rek'Sai and for Jarvan, both very strong early game junglers. So all three of these junglers here are great early game jungle picks. They can all exert a ton of pressure in the early game. The Rek'Sai pick did get some really nice buffs last patch. She went from a pretty average jungler up to the strongest jungler, especially in the higher elos, and pros are definitely taking advantage of that in this patch. For the Jarvan pick, he also does have a super good early game. You can level 2 gank on Jarvan, so you can look to cheese bot lane or look to cheese mid lane and get your laners an advantage in the early game. He also does have pretty good dueling potential. He's a pretty good pick into the Lee Sin. A lot of players use the Jarvan as a counter to the Lee Sin pick, and Lee Sin is played a ton right now, so that makes the pick even stronger for 9.5. And for the mid lane most pick for 9.5, you've got LeBlanc, Sylas, and Yasuo. LeBlanc is a champion that is also kind of similar to Lee Sin in the sense that she is always prioritized pretty highly by pro players in solo queue. She's a pick that if you know how to play her well, if you can abuse her strong early game, then you can just really take over games with the LeBlanc pick. And because this meta right now, Scuttle Crab being very important, being able to roam over there and win those early skirmishes with LeBlanc is very important. And then for Sylas, who would have thought that him getting buffed in this patch would make him a picker ban champion, especially for the higher elos? Apparently nobody at Riot, but yeah, Sylas is super good for 9.5. He just has very strong skirmish potential in the early game, like especially when you get level 6 with Sylas, and you can just do a really good job at winning those 2v2 duels in the early game. Once you do reach the mid to late game stage, if you got like a really good ultimate on the enemy team, something like a Sejuani ultimate or like a Malphite ultimate, just a nice team fight ultimate that you can steal, that can really change the momentum of a game right there. So he's just a great pick for this patch, and I'm not too sure why he ended up getting buffed in 9.5. And then for the Yasuo pick being played a lot in this patch, even Faker's been playing it quite a bit in 9.5, and the pick right now with fleet footwork for the mid lane is what most pros are running right now. I did talk about this in my previous video, but most mid lane Yasuo players right now are not running Conquer after the changes because it's just not as worth it. You're not going to be able to get 5 stacks pretty much at all in the laning phase if you are up against like ranged mid lane champions, so just taking the fleet footwork on him is just much more worthwhile for 9.5. So for AD carry in this patch, you've got Ezreal, Kai'Sa, and then the Nico bot lane pick who are being played a lot for 9.5. Ezreal pretty much blows every champion out of the water when it comes to pick rate for 9.5. He's being played in almost like 40% of games right now, in the higher elos especially, and pro players are just playing him a ton for this patch. You're never really going to lose lane super hard on the Ezreal pick, but you're also not really going to win lane super hard a lot of the time. He's just one of the more consistent AD carries. You're going to go even in most matchups. He does have one of the strongest mid games for any AD carry, and then once you do get your Gunblade completed on Ezreal, his one-shot potential is actually insanely strong in the mid to late game there. He kind of acts as an assassin in a way. If you can hit your W, get your Q pop on that, and then use your Gunblade, you can actually look for assassinations with this pick come the late game, so he does have some really good carry potential if you can play him correctly. And then for Kai'Sa in this patch, originally when the crit items rolled out, she was one of the weakest AD carries. Not a ton of pros were playing her, but after they've kind of discovered what the best build is now, what the best rune setup is, they're actually playing her a ton in 9.5. Right now, Kai'Sa's doing really good with the IE rush and then into a Ginsu's. That does give you a pretty nice 2-item spike there. Now, Kai'Sa's early game though, it is probably her weaker point in the game. Most people would agree on that. So what pros are doing to kind of accelerate their build path and get to their IE Ginsu's faster is they're going for boots as their secondary rune. So they're taking inspiration secondary, going the magical footwear, going for the biscuits as well, just to give you a little bit more sustain there in the early game, give you your free boots so you don't have to invest into those, and then you are going to hit a quicker mid game spike. So if you haven't been going inspiration secondary on your Kai'Sa, every single pro player is doing it on her in this patch, so I would definitely recommend it. And then for the Nico pick, a new pick in the bot lane for this patch that is seeing a ton of play right now, and she just overall has a very strong laning phase, has a really good mid game spike. Her late game is even pretty strong as well, so she really doesn't have any weak point in the game right now. She's one of the safest AD carry picks as well because of the move speed bonuses she can get in her kit, because of her W, which allows her to stealth there and just get out of sticky situations, and then on top of that you have your ultimate, which gives you a stun and a shield. So she's just overall a very consistent AD carry for 9.5. And then for support for 9.5, you got Galio, Alistar, and Thresh, and one thing that all three of these supports have in common is that they're very much playmaking supports. So all three of these supports have really good playmaking potential in the early game. With the Galio support pick there, level 2 all-in with your flash taunt can really surprise the enemy and catch them off guard. If you're playing with an AD carry, say like a Lucian or a Tristana, someone that can do a lot of burst damage at level 2, then don't be afraid to look to go for an all-in with Galio, because the pick in most elos right now isn't seeing a ton of play. He's only really seeing a ton of play in like the very high elos in this patch. People aren't going to expect what the pick can do. Alistar there, really good playmaking potential in the early game with his roaming, also with his potential to set up ganks and just all in the early game, so he's a great pick in this patch. And then for the Thresh pick there, he's similar to Lee Sin and similar to Ezreal in the sense that if you can play this champion to a high level, he's pretty much got everything that you would want for a support champion. He's got great engage, he's got great playmaking potential in his kit, he's got the ability to save his AD carry from sticky situations, he has great roaming potential, he's just got pretty much everything that you would want for a solo queue support pick. So if you can play a good Thresh in this patch, he is a very good support for 9.5. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Those are the 3 champions for every single role that pro players are prioritizing the most for patch 9.5. If you guys did enjoy this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.